Going to call this meeting of the Monroe County Council to order. This is a special meeting of the council in order to do a second reading of an ordinance 2023-28 with respect to the local income tax. First item on the agenda is approving that agenda. Does anyone have any changes, edits, additions, withdrawals? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. And so with that, I will open our public hearing on ordinance 2023-28. And we have been joined by our county attorney, Molly Turner-King. Thank you for being here. I will read from the agenda just as a point of introduction. That we have determined that the need for juvenile services has been sufficiently funded in the county and that existing services could continue operating with a decrease in the juvenile services local income tax. Additionally, council has determined that there is an increase in the need for correctional facilities and rehabilitation facilities within Monroe County. Council is now considering adopting a correctional income tax rate at 0.01% and simultaneously decreasing the juvenile services local income tax special tax from 0.095% to 0.085%. If these changes are adopted, the overall tax rate will remain the same. Do you have anything to add, Ms. Turner-King?
I do not, but I will display the ordinance being considered on the monitor for everyone's convenience.
At what point would you like a motion to be read? Prior to or now?
I think it could go, I think it's up to you. You could have public comment, then read the motion, or read the motion now and then have public comment on the motion.
I think it makes sense to have the motion read again as a refresher. So I would entertain that in motion form.
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the following actions in this ordinance of the resolution. The local income tax will be allocated as follows beginning on October 1st, 2023. And I'm going to read the allocation rate category, the existing lit rate, and the proposed lit rate as it corresponds. For allocation rate category, certified shares under IC 6-3.6-6, existing lit rate 0.9482%, proposed lit rate 0.9482%. Public safety under IC 6-3.6-6 under the allocation rate category, the existing lit rate is 0.25%. The proposed lit rate is 0.25%. Economic development under IC 6-3.6-6. The existing lit rate is 0.69%. The proposed lit rate is 0.69%. The property tax relief rate under IC 6-3.6-5. The existing lit rate is 0.0518%. The proposed lit rate is 0.0518%. The special purpose rate found under IC 6-3.6-7. The existing lit rate is 0.095%. The proposed lit rate is 0.085%. Correctional rehabilitation facilities under IC 6-3.6-6-2.7. Existing lit rate is currently at 0%. The proposed lit rate will now become 0.01%. Emergency medical service found under IC 6-3.6-6-2.8. The existing lit rate is 0% and will remain at 0% for the proposed lit rate. Staff expenses for state judicial system found under IC 6-3.6-6-2.9. The existing lit rate is at 0% and will remain at 0% under the proposed lit rate. The total tax rate for existing lit rate is 2.035%. The proposed lit rate is 2.035%.
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions before we move to public comment? We'll have time for discussion again afterwards. All right. At this point, I will open for public comment on this ordinance. And if you are in the Nat U Hill room, please come up and join us at the table to make comment. And if you're online, please raise your hand or otherwise let us know that you will need to be allowed to speak. Nobody is making comment. Going once. This is your chance. Oh, good. Somebody will talk to us.
Sign in right here, please. I'm so happy to have a public.
Absolutely.
I am a public, that's for sure.
Welcome.
This is short and sweet. I think this is wonderful.
State your name.
Oh, okay. My name is Carol Wilson. I'm a resident of Monroe County. I think this ordinance should be adopted unanimously. So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And you read it well, Trent.
I tried.
Did. Are there any other members of the public wishing to make comment? I see none online. No further people in the Nat U Hill room either. So at this point, I will close public comment on this ordinance. Next on the agenda is a discussion. So I will open it for discussion amongst counselors. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say or talk about? Yes, Mr. Iverson.
I will just quickly mention that last night we had a JFAC meeting, and it's very timely that this is coming up today, given what we heard from the Sheriff's Department, Centerstone, and other agencies on what we do in terms of treatment in our community.
Any other comments? Yes.
I appreciate the counselors, including Counselor McKim, Counselor Hawk, that have worked to bring this effort to us and brought attention to it, with the rest of the council and their patience as we got our heads around it. I appreciate those kinds of processes. I think they reflect well on us figuring things out, and it's a good example for us to continue to follow into the future.
Agreed. Any others? Alrighty then. Oh yeah, please.
I just wanted to add that we recognize that this is having to do with what we're going to do with our budgets in 2024. So we will be receiving from DLGF a new distribution sheet because they'll keep looking at what changes have been made either by the city or the county and send out new distribution sheets through, I think it's the 1st of November. So we'll see exactly what they're telling us the distribution will be for 2024. But immediately when I say immediately, October 1, when you pay your income tax, that last 4 months will be going hopefully into a trust account because, you know, we want to make sure there's enough money in there in case the estimate should ever be off. But we will be receiving additional information.
And it's 3 months, right? It'll start in October?
Yeah, so, do you mind if I- Yeah, so I know this was one of the things that was covered in Ms. Turner King's memo that I think was a little bit different from how we had initially thought that the tax would work. We thought we would start receiving a distribution this year, which it is clear that we're not. But the money will, as of October 1st, start going into the trust fund for this particular this corrections tax. And therefore, A, will make it more likely that we won't suffer a shortfall, and B, if the trust fund balance gets over 15%, then we'll get a supplemental distribution of the excess money whenever the DLGF decides to do that. Now, when we did the calculations before, it looked like the amount that we'll probably raise in 2024 will be about $424,260. That was at least my calculation. Gregory, do you agree with that number? Okay, so essentially $425,000 that we will be raising, that we'll be able to, instead of just going into a bank account where it's not even being used, we'll be able to use this for corrections and treatment. So, and like Mr. Iverson mentioned, you know, already in our budget submissions, we have, how much did the jail mental health contract increase by to cover additional?
Well, there's like, it's $800 and some thousand for the medical, and then the new portion that has 3 positions in it for mental health. And that part was $500 and some thousand, just the mental health additional onto that mental health, the medical contract. It was my hope that we would be able to, we certainly can't cover the whole thing out of the 400 and some thousand, but we might want to put as much in there as we can. But then, I mean, that'll be up to everybody whether or not they think we should move
Wanna
forward
fund
with that
the
number
whole-
or not. But anyway, it's a number that we've received.
And makes clear that the demand is already greater than the additional revenue we're providing. But I mean, every $100,000 helps.
Was it 3 positions in the contract? I thought 2 were in the contract and 1 was, no, it's 3 in the contract and 1. Got it. Yep, thank you.
And the other thing is, when we first started discussing this, we didn't know that all of a sudden we were going to see 3 more positions in that mental health portion of the contract. I mean, we didn't know that until yesterday. It's a bonus.
Yeah. Any other discussion? All right, well, I'd just like to second Counselor Deckard in thanking the counselors who worked to bring this forward, and especially for noticing that this would be possible. And thank you to Ms. Turner King for working on it and getting the legalities figured out for us, because I do think this is going to be very helpful. If there are no other discussion, then we will have a roll call vote on the ordinance. Please.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes,
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you. That is all of our business for this evening. There's another meeting starting, and I believe the invitation to the joint meeting was 5:30 p.m. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting. We'll have a break and be back at 5:30 for the joint meeting. Thanks.